We're just a few days removed from the NBA Finals going on, but the association not taking any downtime because later tonight, the next gen taking center stage with the NBA draft. And Orlando is on the clock at number 1. Magic looking at a superstar for the future. They'll have some options here in the top 3. Taking a look at the latest mock draft from our Gary Parrish and how this might shake out when it comes to the top 10 picks. He has the 7-footer and Chet Holmgren going number 1. Considered maybe that best all-around talent coming out of Gonzaga. Rightfully so. We saw what he did not too long ago for the Zags. Oklahoma City landing Jabari Smith out of Auburn as well, 6'10", and a baller for sure. And Paolo Banchero out of Duke going number 3 to the Rockets. And then rounding out the top 10, he has my Wiz Kids taking Ochai Agbaji out of Kansas. Join us now, of course, hours before this all goes down the NBA. Adam Finkelstein here. And Adam, you've been all over this. I want to look at the top 3 when it comes to Holmgren, Smith, and Banchero. You can't go wrong with either one if you're Orlando, depending on how this shakes out. But these 3, they know each other. They grew up in the game together since they were 8 years old. Kind of take us through their relationship up to this point.
Yeah, I mean, they're all one-and-done freshmen, and not only that, but they've all been high-prioritized prospects since they were underclassmen in high school. So these 3 have been compared and contrasted to each other, not just within the last 6 months, but really within the last 5 years. I mean, they were all in the mix as 5-star prospects. Paolo Banchero took that title as a freshman in high school. Chet took it over later. Jabari never had that number 1 slot in high school, but he took it over in a lot of mock drafts this year. So these 3 guys who always positionally have been similar, really been competing for the better part of the last 5 years, although most NBA draft fans really just starting to pay attention within this most recent college season.
Real quickly, you look at those 3, and I want to put you in the seat of Orlando. Who's your number 1 guy of this top 3, since you know him so well?
Yeah, well, this is the crazy part. We're waking up this morning, and Jabari Smith was perceived as the favorite to go number 1, and Vegas is flipped. And now Paolo, who many people had slotted at 3, including myself, now the Vegas favorite to go number 1. So we're in for a very interesting draft day. I think the number 1 pick is going to be Paolo or Jabari. My top overall long-term prospect, I'm going to agree with GP on this one, and I think it's Chet Holmgren.
All right, we'll see how it shakes out there when it comes to the odds, those top 3. But at 4, you see Purdue's Jaden Ivey coming in at 201, maybe going on. That may not be the case, but he's one of those high motor guys that can get a shot off at all 3 levels on the floor. If we're looking at an NBA comp, could he be the next Russell Westbrook?
Yeah, I mean, that's what people are throwing out there. You're hearing a lot of Westbrook, Ja Morant. Reason being, he's the most explosive guard prospect we've seen in recent years. And the really ironic part about it is he's a pretty clear top 4 prospect. But Sacramento, who has the 4th overall pick, hasn't even worked him out yet. And if that sounds bizarre, it is. But Sacramento is going to Sacramento if you follow them over the course of the years. And the thing is this, is that they do not need a guard. In fact, they moved off a 3-guard lineup last year, trading Tyrese Halliburton to Indiana. And so they really seem determined to draft a forward in this spot. But this is definitely going to be kind of a swing pick for the rest of the draft to figure out how it's going to go. Is Sacramento going to take Ivy? Are they going to move the pick? Because there's plenty of people that would love to draft Ivy 4th overall and see if he can live up to that Russell Westbrook comparison.
He's definitely a monster when you talk about his play there in the Big Ten. And you mentioned number 4 and the Kings holding that pick there. Maybe where the draft could start, but, you know, they're open to trading there. How could this kind of shake up the night here?
Well, you know, we thought this was going to be the major domino. At this time yesterday morning, we said, hey, everything's going to start at 4. Now we're saying, what's going on at the top of the draft? So really, with the first four in this state of flux, there's a lot of variables at play. I think the Kings pick is the one that is most available in the trade market. If I'm a poker player, I'm saying to the Kings, hey, you're showing your hand here. You should at least work Jaden Ivey out. Instead, you're telling everybody, hey, you don't want him. And that puts Detroit in a position where maybe they don't feel like they have to trade up. Maybe they're just waiting to see if Jaden Ivey is going to slip down to him. It makes for a lot of interesting storylines going into tonight. But I do think that Sacramento pick is available for anybody willing to hand out the assets in order to move up and take Jaden Ivey.
There's been rumors of teams outside that top 10 maybe looking at the Sacramento Kings, as you mentioned, flexible of moving up to that 4th spot to get an Ivey or someone else. Looking at 2 spots below that, Shadon Sharp, or Gary Parrish has him going to the Pacers here. He's maybe the biggest question mark, especially his time at Kentucky. A little question mark with that, but what can you tell us more about his situation? Is still one of the top prospects on the board.
Yeah, he's the biggest enigma in the lottery. Highest risk, highest reward prospect. At this time last year, he was getting ready to play in the Nike Peach Jam, where he established himself as the top-ranked high school player in the country, made an early departure to join Kentucky at midseason, but then elected not to play. Still declared for the NBA draft. He put it all together. We haven't seen him play since these highlights you're watching right now, and that was last July. He played a couple exhibition games in the fall, one of which was nationally televised, but not a real basketball game. So there are more questions than answers. What we know about him is this. He is a high-level athlete, incredible vertical pop. He's really long, and he's got a lot of shot-making potential. So again, a high-risk, high-reward proposition for teams in the lottery.
All right, we'll see what happens. Again, our Gary Parrish has him going 6th here to the Pacers, depending on how this shakes out. As always, a silly season in the NBA, and why not the draft tonight later at 8 p.m. As always, Adam Finkelstein, I appreciate your time breaking it all down. Let's look at Gary Parrish's mock draft again, how it all might check out here. Chet Holmgren at number 1 to the Magic there. Jabari Smith and Paolo Banchero. We just saw the odds there. Banchero may be the favorite to go number 1. But again, as we just Adam just kind of said there, you can't go wrong with any of these 3 guys. And also keep your eye there on Jaden Ivey, also to see how this shapes out for the top 10 later tonight in New York City.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.